You know, when you've painted a scene and you finish it and you take a look at it and you just aren't sure what's wrong with it, but it seems like something is just off. Well, there's a good chance that this might be an issue with your composition. So today I have 3 very easy to implement changes that you can make in the way that you think and plan your composition. These fundamental decisions make a very big difference in your painting. The first thing that you want to think about is what is most important in the scene that I'm painting. This is going to help you decide some things when you are laying out your composition. And the next thing you want to ask yourself is the most important thing happening in the sky or on the land? And that simple question right there, where is the most important thing in the composition? That is going to help you determine where your horizon line is in your scene. Are you going to favor the lower half of your scene or the upper half? What you don't want to do is have your horizon line right through the center of the painting. A lot of times I see students work and they divide their painting right in half with that horizon line. And for some reason, that just creates a composition that is not very pleasing. And we want to avoid that. Maybe the sky is more interesting. Well, if that's the case, lower that horizon line below the halfway point and favor the top part of your composition. Maybe there's a lot of action down on the ground. Well, then you want to do the opposite. You want to bump up that horizon line and favor the lower half of your painting. Asking yourself these important questions before you even start doing your drawing will make a big difference as you lay out your composition. The next thing we want to think about is, do we want a portrait layout or a landscape layout? A lot of scenes can go either way on this, but there are some scenes that lend themselves better to a portrait layout. And these are things like street scenes. If there's a tall tower and you want to see the whole length of that building and you want to include some of what's going on the ground. Maybe there's a ship with a mast that's sticking up higher in your composition. When I'm painting in watercolor, I have a larger sheet of paper and I'm tearing that into typically an 11 by 15 quarter sheet size. So I have to make that decision. Is this painting going to be a landscape format where it's wider this way, or is it going to be a portrait format where I flip it over and it's a little taller? If there are a lot of strong verticals in your scene, go ahead and choose a portrait layout where you can give yourself more room to feature those verticals. If there's more spread out in the scene, then go with a landscape format. One of the main tools that you have to help your composition is the rule of thirds. You can lay in either imaginary in your mind or actual pencil lines some thirds. Now this is where you draw 2 lines and you divide your paper vertically into 3 parts, and then you do the same thing horizontally. Now where these lines cross, these are important areas in your composition. Throughout history, throughout cinematography, throughout photography, these lines have been very important when it comes to composition. Now, this is not an exact science. You don't have to be very rigid about putting something exactly on one of these thirds, but if you generally keep that in mind, that these are key areas of my composition where I want a lot of that action to be, that's going to help your overall output. This last tip for composition is one that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, but it's something that we see in nature. It's something that we see in good painting. It's something that we see in good cinematography. And that is, we can slightly darken the foreground of our painting and the top part of a painting. What we see in nature is that generally, if the sun is out, the sky is blue, it's a deeper, richer blue at the top of the sky. And what we often find ourselves doing, what you see in a lot of compositions, is slightly darkening the foreground. So it's darker on the top of your composition and it's a little darker at the bottom of your composition. What this naturally does is that it creates a vignette. It pushes the viewer's focus into the painting. You are leading the viewer's eye into the scene. As artists, that's what we want to do. We want to keep that viewer's eye in our painting. And by using these compositional tools, by using the rule of thirds, by focusing on a specific area, we tell that viewer that this is an important part of the painting. We draw them into the scene. And if you can use these tools in your composition, you will have stronger paintings that capture the eye, that get closer to that vision that you have for your work. Have you ever been really excited about a painting and you get all set up, you find that right reference that you're excited about, and then it's time to go and you feel lost? You just are having a hard time finding consistency. Some of your paintings turn out, some of your paintings don't turn out, and you're not really sure why. Well, I have a free resource that I want to give to you today that can help with these problems. My 5 steps to plan a successful watercolor painting. I walk you through the crucial planning phase of your painting that will help you understand what you're going to paint first, second, and third. The planning is really so important, especially in watercolor. This medium is harder to correct. It's so immediate. So having that plan is very important. I send you a PDF that you can download. And the great thing about this is you can have it on your phone, you could print it out, and you can take a look at these crucial planning steps before you start each painting to ensure that you're thinking through these important things as you get started. You can download this right now before you start your next painting. All you have to do is follow this link here and download my 5-step guide to planning a successful watercolor painting.